Imagine standing on ancient soil, where every rock, river, and where tree has a story far older than any city or empire. Imagine hearing voices carried through the wind, voices of the first peoples, whose ancestors walked this land tens of thousands of years before modern nations were even imagined. These voices belong to indigenous peoples, the original caretakers of our planet. So, who are indigenous peoples? They are the descendants of those who first settled the lands we live on today. They are more than populations. They are guardians of tradition, carriers of memory, and teachers of balance between humans and nature. Their identities are rooted not only in place, but in the languages, rituals, but knowledge passed down for countless generations. Unlike many of us who trace our origins across oceans and continents, indigenous peoples did not arrive from somewhere else. They emerged from the very lands they call home. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia trace back at least 6,000 years, the oldest continuous culture on Earth. In the Americas, native nations like the Navajo, Cherokee, and Quechua have lived on their homelands for more than a dozen years. In Africa, groups like the San and the Tuareg carry histories as old as humanity itself. Their roots are not shallow. They go deep into the soil, deeper than any borderline on a modern map. But just how many indigenous people are there in today's world? According to the United Nations, over 476 million indigenous people live in more than 90 countries. That's about 6% of the global population, and yet they represent an astonishing 1,000 different cultures and speak the majority of the world's remaining languages. Each language is a library. Each culture is a unique way of seeing the world. Their presence stretches across every continent. In the Americas, from the Inuit of the Arctic to the Yanomami of the Amazon. In Africa, from the pastoralist Maasai to the desert-dwelling Tuareg. In Asia, from the Ainu of Japan to the tribal peoples of India and the Philippines. In Oceania, the Maori of New Zealand and the Torres Strait Islanders of Australia. Even in Europe, the Sami people continued their traditions of reindeer herding across the frozen north. Indigenous peoples are everywhere, not only in remote rainforests or deserts, but also in modern cities and towns. What unites them is not geography, but their unbroken link to ancestral lands, stories, and spiritual traditions. Yet their survival has never been simple. Colonization, forced displacement, suppression of languages, and destruction of sacred lands have threatened their existence for centuries. But despite these hardships, indigenous peoples have shown extraordinary resilience. They continue to fight for recognition, for rights to their lands, and for their voices to be heard. And here is where their story becomes all of ours. In a world facing climate change, deforestation, and loss of biodiversity, indigenous peoples offer a different perspective. They remind us that the earth is not a resource to be consumed, but a living home to be cared for. They teach that rivers are lifelines, not pipelines, that forests are sacred, not just timber, that culture is not something to preserve in museums, but something to live every day. So, who are indigenous peoples? They are humanity's first storytellers, the original scientists of the natural world, and the guardians of knowledge we cannot afford to lose. They are not relics of the past. They are living, breathing nations that form the roots of our shared humanity. And as we move forward into a future full of uncertainty, one truth becomes clear. If we want to understand how to live in balance with our world, we must listen to the wisdom of those who have done it for thousands of years. Indigenous peoples are not just the past. They are the present, and they are essential to our future. Their story is our story. Their survival is our survival, and their voices must never be silenced.